Welcome everybody to the May 14th, 2020 edition of SIG Instrumentation Meeting. We have a couple of items on the agenda today. First item from Han is setting up SIG repos. Hopefully your audio is working, Han.
Or we can move you to later in the agenda if you prefer.
Yeah, we will move on to the next item in the agenda. So moving on, 44 past 4, we have a new KEP for dynamic log sanitization. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So I've briefly talked about it on the last meeting. So the problem which we want to solve is the problem of sensitive data like tokens or security keys or passwords leaking into control plane logs. And this has been pointed out as one of the points which require fixing from the security audit done for the Kubernetes. And the way which we propose to address this problem is to add some metadata in the code in the form of Golang tags, which could be detected at runtime in the logging library. And if any of the arguments passed as arguments to log messages contains any of the proposed tags, such log message would be like dropped, and the information that something which is not safe, there was a try to log something which is not safe, would be logged instead. So this is the high-level proposal. The details are in the doc. The main concern with this proposal is the performance overhead, which might be needed to verify if arguments are not containing sensitive data. We propose at least 2 different solutions how the performance overhead could be limited. So one way is to cache the information about the log argument types which do not contain any reference to any sensitive data. In such case, those arguments can be simply logged and do not require any further checks. And the other solution is to have a dedicated interface with a method which implementation could be auto-generated, which would return the information about whether the type contains sensitive data or not.
So that all sounds good to me, and I linked the issue that you had filed in the chat as well. I'm curious, so I guess in our last meeting, this was like sort of a draft. There was not yet an actual KEP. There is now a KEP up. For what I can see, no one's had a chance to review it yet. So is your goal to
Yep.
target this for 119 in alpha status, or what's the timeline for this sort of thing?
Well, with the postponement of 120 release, it would be perfect if we could fit this into 119, but I'm aware that it's quite late to get like the approval for this. But yeah, if we could like agree on this before the enhancement freeze, then the original proposal is to have alpha in 119.
I have a question.
Sure.
Have you prototyped this yet?
Prototyped?
Yeah, like have you tested that this can work the way that you envision it, or have you tested it out? Or?
Yeah, well, the idea comes from some internal solution used in Google. We would reuse a part of it. So we have a prototype for part of it, not like the whole solution. And we run some tests when it comes to caching. So we got some data that around 90 to 95% of the arguments, like the metadata for those arguments, could be cached. So
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
pretty sure
yeah.
that we can address the performance overhead problem quite easily.
Yeah, you only need to hit the thing once, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the log line only needs to go through the slow path one time. Yeah, I actually did read the cap. I think it sounds reasonable to me. So
I think
I've yet to read it, but
sorry, go ahead.
I've yet to read it, but obviously I'm in favor of increasing security. Yeah, I still have a couple of questions, but I'm expecting that they'll probably be answered by me reading the stuff.
Okay.
Given that we're not going to have any benchmarking data by the time the enhancements freeze comes, is everyone generally in favor of moving to alpha if we can agree on the APIs and making performance considerations a beta criteria, or do we think that's not the right approach?
I'm just curious, I guess, again, sorry that I haven't read it yet. Do we have a couple of alternatives outlined in the doc as well?
No. I can probably add this, but yeah, in general, this is one of the ways the safety of the logs can be improved, and it's not that this is the only solution which we want to apply. Apart in near future, we want also to propose the other cap, in which the same metadata added in the code could be used to run some static code analysis.
yes, that actually almost makes more sense, right? If we were in static analysis, can't we just not let people log out those attributes?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was leading towards. But I had kind of expected that to be in the alternatives, because like there was a there was a comment on chat, and you're very welcome to speak up as well. Basically the question was like, can't we just prevent this from being logged in the first place?
Unfortunately not, because we cannot like analyze all the paths in the code which could be used to log something. So the static code analysis has some limitations, and we believe that we should have like both solutions in place to improve the performance. So it's not really an alternative, but a complementary solution.
So I actually don't understand that. So like if we have the annotation on the struct, then we should be able to run static analysis to determine if that struct is.
Yeah, but in some cases we simply pass an interface as an argument because like the log library accepts interface, empty interface. So in such case you cannot like have a to have a full to run a full analysis and verify if there's no place which passes any sensitive data, which will be logged later on.
If I'm understanding correctly, let's take an example of a function that takes interface as a parameter and logs that parameter, right? How do you know that this parameter is sensitive or not?
You can have two sweeps of static analysis. One is for the tag, and one is for occurrences of that. And then basically you have like, okay, one is really not allowed, two is like a warning, and we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, and this might be a little naive, if we are able to figure out what we should redact in a dynamic case, why can we not use that logic to figure it out in the static case? Like if we're doing an interface traversal, like, is it impossible? We should be able to figure out like what's going into that thing.
It's more involved static analysis, I think, right? Because you actually have to evaluate the expressions.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if it's feasible to do at runtime, surely it would also be feasible. Like there's only so much things given the code path to go through.
Yes, you're basically running code in static analysis, but yeah, I think it would be possible. It might be kind of complicated.
I'm kind of curious about the I don't know. Do we have other topics for today? Because I don't want to drag this more out because I haven't read the document.
The only other topic on the agenda was Han wanted to talk about setting up SIG repos, and I don't know if there's any folks on the call who have topics that didn't put them in the agenda.
I do not. Actually, let's move the SIG repo topic to next time. We can continue talking about this, but I also want to talk about the other cap and see if we can use lazy consensus or just move forward with it. But that probably should not take too long, so we can continue.
What other cap is that?
The cardinality one for before.
Okay, but it sounds like we can spend another couple of minutes talking about the log sanitization then. Yeah, I guess, where did we leave off? I'm curious, like, did you link the exact report from the Cure 53? I think this was the Cure 53 security report, right?
Yeah.
Like, was it random logs, let's say, or was it stuff like when you put verbosity up to like 10, I think it is, that you get like the entire HTTP request printed out, and was that a problem? Or
no, No, I think that the two problems pointed out there were with logs on the default, like to
Okay.
log verbosity level.
Okay. I see. I tend to agree. I would love to see how far we can get with static analysis first, I think. And if we truly, like, I would also want to see how often we do the interface passing as we described it. Maybe we absolutely do need it, but I feel like trying to do all of this upfront and not at runtime sounds like the natural first step, and then we can do stuff at runtime. It's just my take.
So it depends on your guarantees that you want to achieve. If your guarantees you want to be sure that you don't leak anything, then you need to start from the runtime part, because like static analysis, you can get good enough, but you can invest more and more time, but you will get less and less return. And at some point, like you cannot never be sure that it's 100% accurate, because like you cannot see code without running it.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
you can't do
like,
this. You can't do it.
Go ahead.
No, sorry.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're doing this based on a struct annotation, then somebody can forget the struct annotation as well, and that will also.
Yeah, my read of the cap, at least, it wasn't necessarily a struct annotation, but it was just looking for common fields that might happen to have this information in it. So I feel like it's
No.
really a guessing game.
There's a struct annotation. There's a struct annotation on line 133. But in the goal section of the cat, it actually says completely eliminating the risk of sensitive data is a non-goal, which is kind of in line with static analysis as you're describing it, Marek. I'm referring specifically to line 80.
Without trying to make a decision here, Pavel, have you talked to, I think SIG Architecture is also one of the reviewing SIGs. Have you gotten any feedback from them?
No, not yet.
Okay, I think Elena has a point. I think it would be worth at least letting them know on their mailing list so that they have
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it makes sure know that they're like, this is great, we don't care about static analysis, in which case we will say, we defer to SIG Architecture. But if they're also concerned about it, then it might be, maybe the static analysis is a better route to go. So, but before trying to make any...
As I mentioned, I wouldn't consider static analysis as an alternative, because as I mentioned, based on the experience which we have internally with the similar solution, like static analysis finds some percentage of the problems, and on top of this, there are some cases which cannot be like found this way, and then there's runtime verification also needed. In the end, I believe that we should have both, and those should use the same metadata. So for me, it's rather the question about the order in which we would like to implement it, and as like the runtime verification provides a higher level of security, I don't see why we cannot go with it first.
I would love to see examples of what we wouldn't catch with static analysis that we would catch with this in the cap. I feel like that would be particularly relevant. I'm personally okay with this moving to implementable since it's an alpha thing. like, I don't see why we should block this. This seems like a good thing for people to prototype and develop and whatever. Personally, I don't know how everyone else feels about that.
I mean, I think if that's what's required for us to get benchmarks about this, I think and then we decide on it. I think I could live with that. But if we can somehow get benchmarks, as David asked, even before that, that would be ideal. But yeah, I don't know. I think I could live with it as an alpha thing as well, and then we can reevaluate.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, folks. I suspect we should not get too much into the nitty gritty on this one, given that we've got one other cap to review. So thank you so much for presenting. And Han, do you want to jump into the other cap that we're looking to target for 119? The dynamic cardinality?
Yeah, we've already talked. Yes. Hold on, let me find it. It's probably actually in. Wait, let me link it. So it's basically what we talked about. This cap is now kind of old, but I was hoping to move this into an implementable stage. This is pretty isolated and should not affect any consumers unless they opt into it. And it would be nice to have this mechanism. I don't know if anyone has any objections. I don't think there were any objections last time.
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed it. It looked fine to me. I maybe would defer to the tech leads for approval as opposed to me approving. But I don't know if anybody from the wider community has any thoughts or concerns.
I'm generally happy with it. I haven't had a chance to re-review it one more time, but like it doesn't seem all that wild, and I think we've discussed it a couple of times already.
Okay, I'm in the same boat. Cool. I'll take another look.
Okay, then I will change in the cap the thing to implementable so that, and then if people can review any last minute things before Tuesday, that would be really appreciated.
Yeah, sounds good. And feel free to add me and probably other folks as reviewers and approvers.
I think everybody is a reviewer.
I just mean in the doc. The metadata has
the meta. Oh yeah. Okay. Absolutely so.
Any other topics from anyone?
Oh, yes. We probably don't have enough time for it, but it's about the API server request total metric. Frederick probably knows where I'm going with this one.
Not exactly. The rename or which one?
Before returning it to stable, should we actually make it a nice metric?
Yes, absolutely.
Like get rid of a bunch of fields that are terrible.
Yes, we should.
Is there an issue for that?
No, but this is like, it's also like, it's partially instrumentation, but it's like, the metric is owned by API machinery. And so I sit at the cross section of that, which is why I'm always talking about it. But it turns out to be it's a terrible metric currently, and it is probably one of the most used metrics.
Yeah, I think maybe we can draft up what we would like it to be like, and then we can discuss that in the next meeting maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd appreciate
yeah.
if you filed an issue detailing what the problems with it are, because this is, I don't think this is an everybody knows. I do not know, so.
Well, I mean, like this cardinality enforcement thing is also, that was this metric, and we've had that issue more than once.
Yes.
So
I don't disagree with any of that, but I think that like you should document specifically the things that you want to fix before this goes to alpha, so from alpha to stable, so other folks can also get a chance to see, and we have that publicly documented.
yes, yeah, for sure. I'm actually thinking that it might be better to just create a different metric, given the critical nature of the thing. But yes, I will file an issue, and then we can just open up for discourse for the next meeting.
For what it's worth, we just renamed this metric.
I know.
I think throwing away a label is probably way less bad.
We still have both forms of the metric around.
No, not in 118.
So we already got.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the last set of deprecations that happened with these metrics, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have 1 minute left. Is there anything that you think you could cover in 30 seconds?
Maybe just as a
I
closing
hope
note
everyone
to
is-
that one, we should probably talk about how we can actually graduate the metrics overhaul kit. I think there are like 1 or 2 items left outstanding.
That would be great.
Yes.
Frederick, I would like to add that to the next meeting's agenda if that's
Yes.
cool with you.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Then hopefully I think that's everything. I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your local time.
Thanks everyone.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.